Um, so typically for these local advisory council meetings, we do them in person. Of course, this year, that was not going to be the best solution for us. So we decided to offer them virtually and have invited all of our external stakeholders, mentors, post-secondary partners, K-12 partners. So anybody who wants an update on where students stand in your communities. But I'll start off by just giving you guys a little bit of background about Tennessee Achieves, which you may or may not already know. But we are a privately funded 501c3 nonprofit that partners directly with the state to facilitate Tennessee Promise in 90 of the 95 counties. So you'll see there are some counties on the map that are in gray. They are facilitated by an organization called the Ayers Foundation. And the Ayers Foundation will be expanding this year to a few more counties, but Tennessee Achieves will continue to work with the 90 counties we currently serve, working with the college students in those counties. We started in just Knox County, so we were just in one county in 2008 and obviously expanded as the program became statewide. Since we began, we've worked with over 440,000 students and over 71,000 volunteers. A really big reach that we've had since the beginning. Some of our main components that I'll cover, 3 of which have been with us since the beginning. The first being what most people think about when they think about Tennessee Promise, which is that $100 scholarship. So Tennessee Promise allows any high school senior to attend community or technical school free of tuition and fees. Also, some four-year institutions that offer associate's degree programs are eligible for Tennessee Promise funding. The second component is our volunteer mentors. So I think probably that you guys have served or are familiar with the volunteer mentor program. But those are people who regularly check in with their students, just making sure everybody is on task to be sure that they're maintaining eligibility for Tennessee Promise. Do you guys both serve as mentors?
Yes.
Okay. So I thought so, but I just wanted to make sure. So you are very familiar with that piece of the puzzle. And then our third component that's been with us since the beginning is community service. So the chairman of our board was a Boy Scout, and that's very important. So we wanted to make sure that we continued to cultivate the culture of giving back to the community. So we ask every student to complete 8 hours of community service every semester that they receive funding. We hear based on our surveys that 96% of the students actually enjoy their community service, and oftentimes this is the first time that they've done anything in their communities, and so it's a good way to facilitate that culture of giving back, and we hope that continues and carries on past Tennessee Promise requirements. The fourth component is our summer program. So we offer 2. We offer a 3-week summer bridge program that allows any student who does not test into college level courses to have sort of a academic boot camp for 3 weeks at any of our community colleges. And then at the end of that 3 weeks, they have the opportunity to test into college level classes. Our second program is called the Summer Institute. It's currently only offered in Memphis, which is our most high-risk community, but hoping to expand that moving forward. It is a 10-week program where students take 6 college classes prior to the fall after their high school graduation. So both summer programs have been super successful, and we hope to continue offering them moving forward.
So that summer program in Memphis, once they graduate, then they take those 2 classes just to get them started before they start in the fall?
Exactly. Yeah. So it's summer classes. It's actually 6 classes. So they take all their learning classes, and then they take all the co-requisite classes is what they call them. So they take 3 college level classes. So they actually start in the fall with 9 college credit hours under their belt.
Okay, so that's
a lot
quite a bit.
smaller.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a lot smaller of a program because convincing students to give up 10 weeks of their summer is a little more challenging than 3 weeks. It just sounds really intimidating. But the ones that do, so for example, this year we had 29 students register and participate, and all 29 of them completed all 6 classes and are starting college with 9 credit hours. So it's super successful.
Awesome.
So we've got to figure out how to make that sound more appealing to more students and expand it across the state. It is more costly than our other summer bridge program because it's actually paying tuition for those students.
Yes.
But we're really hoping to expand that moving forward because it's been really successful.
Awesome.
Yeah. The final component that we really spend a lot of time and effort on is our complete coaching model. So that is our paid full-time staff members that basically take over the coaching aspect of the program once the mentorship has completed. So for our most at-risk students, as identified by their financial need, they're all assigned to a coach that will walk them through their entire college process. So they're with them for the 5 semesters that they receive Tennessee Promise funding, and reach out to them once a month to make sure that, or at least once a month, to make sure that we are helping them identify challenges and get through them. So helping them find resources on campus, helping them with transportation issues, anything that might come up that would prevent them from being a successful college student. You'll also see in the green box that we believe in the power of targeted communication as a mentor. I'm sure you're very familiar with the amount of emails that we send, but annually we send 10 million emails and 6 million text messages. So we are making sure that our students and parents and all stakeholders are fully aware of what's going on at any time. And we really think that targeting students who haven't completed certain steps in the process and saying, Jackie, you have not done your college application, is what makes the difference in a generic, hey, make sure you apply email. So we're making sure to do that with the data that we have. So our reach, I covered a little bit with the map at the beginning, but we are in 90 counties, 74 of which are considered rural, 35 are at risk or distressed, and 601 high schools each year. 67 post-secondary partners, so there are 67 colleges that are eligible for Tennessee Promise. The majority of our students do go to community college, 79% of them. And then the rest of them are pretty much evenly split between the TCATs, which is Tennessee College of Applied Technology, and then the 4-year eligible institutions. When we look at that group of about 60,000 students that apply each year, we look at a lot of different segments of students. So we want to know how many high school seniors are applying to Tennessee Promise. And it's usually around 90% each year. We do encourage all high school seniors to apply. We want them all to apply. We know every high school senior is not going to go to a Tennessee Promise institution, but it's a really great backup option. So hoping to maintain at least 90% of seniors that apply to the program. 78% of all first-time freshmen at a community college are tnAchieves students, and 86% of annual graduates from the community colleges are tnAchieves students. When you look at the group of students that starts with Tennessee Promise in the fall, over half of them are high need based on income. So they're eligible for a federal Pell Grant, which is determined based on need through all of the data that students provide on their FAFSA, the free application for federal student aid. So over half of our students do require or do receive some federal financial aid. 40% are first generation college students, meaning they would be the first in their families to receive a post-secondary credential. which it really does change the trajectory of a whole family. So if your parents went to college, you are much more likely to go to college than if your parents didn't. And then over half of our students are majoring in health sciences and STEM related fields, which are obviously the growing fields across our country. And then, of course, people always ask about the cost of the scholarship, and each year the state spends about $32 million on the scholarship piece of the program. So just the tuition and fees alone. And then Tennessee Achieves operates for $2.5 million annually. So college going rate, something that we track each year, and something that really took a big hit with the pandemic, obviously, along with many other things. But prior to the pandemic, we were sitting at around 62% of students who graduate from high school that go into college directly. In just 1 year, we dropped below 57%. There's just a general, and you guys have probably seen this and heard it from working with your students, but general sense that more students are having full-time jobs and making money and don't see the value in education right now. So we're trying to change that story. In Overton County, a similar trend. In 2019, the college going rate for Overton County was almost 65%. And then in 2020, it dropped to 58.3.
I'm actually glad to see it's a little bit higher than the state
I know.
number.
Yeah, it is higher than the state. So that's absolutely positive. Good point. Sorry, I didn't even point that out. Usually I do talk about that. With our benchmarks on the college access side, the two things that we track are FAFSA file rate and community service. So statewide FAFSA file rate is 86%. Overton County sitting at 81%, which is below the state average a little bit. However, a lot of states say over 50% is good. So Tennessee is always leading the way in FAFSA, and 86% is really high. So 81% is still really a great FAFSA file rate, but we do have some work to do. So we're continuing to offer virtual FAFSA help sessions this year. And of course, the schools do a lot with FAFSA. And I know that the post-secondary institutions are trying to offer more opportunities for students to get help if they need it. Community service, I mentioned earlier that we have over 3 million hours across the state, so over 3.3 million since our last deadline. And in Overton County, almost 10,000 of those hours have been completed by local students. So really a great number, and hopefully the community sees the impact there. Looking more in depth at some outcomes, we always look at retention. So how many students who start with us are actually coming back for their second year. And we look at graduation rates. Graduation rates for the state are measured on a 6-year rotating schedule. So right now, our statewide retention rate for students who go to Tennessee Promise institutions is 67%. For students who go anywhere, so they could go to UT or out of state, it's 74%. So a lot of times those 4-year schools do have higher retention rates generally. So 67% is still really good for Tennessee Promise eligible institutions, because as you'll see, it is 14% higher than the state average for community college first-time full-time freshmen. And then
I do have another question with
Yeah.
that then.
Yeah.
So we're saying at any college, if it's not a Tennessee Promise, so you're tracking them once they leave the Tennessee Promise system as well?
We are, yes. So we look at any student who applies to Tennessee Promise, we track them all the way through.
Okay, wow.
And then we compare, you know, how well the students do for the ones that go to Tennessee Promise eligible institutions versus those that don't. And then we group them all together too. So yeah, we're tracking in every way you could ever imagine, I feel like.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah, it's good. And that's another reason that we really want more or all students to apply, because we are able to track them more. and really get more information on the students once they apply, versus those who never applied at Tennessee Promise. We obviously cannot look up information on them or have any graduation or retention rates on them. So we are always wanting more students to apply. But the 6-year graduation rate is similar to retention rate, 16% higher than the state averages for Tennessee Promise students. And then when you look at our program, so some of the pieces that I was talking about earlier and the impact that they're having on retention, they are super significant. So we are always trying to expand, as I mentioned. So for students who participate in the summer programs, their likelihood of retaining their following year is 34% higher than their peers. For those who are being coached, so working with that coach one-on-one, their retention rate is 23% higher than their peers. And then for Knox Promise, that's our newest program. It's a privately funded program in just Knox County, but it allows us to coach every student, not just the low income students. And it also allows us to give emergency grant funding. So smaller amounts of money to be given to students to pay for things like laptops or transportation and other things that they may need to be successful. And students participating in that program are retaining 42% higher than their peers. So certainly making an impact and something we're looking at expanding as well. So as far as local student progress, you guys are doing better than the averages here as well. So about 240 students apply from Overton County each year, 75 of which end up going to school with Tennessee Promise each year, approximately. The retention rate for Overton County students is 1% higher than the statewide average. So 68% of students return their second semester or second year. And then 3-year graduation rate is 7 points higher than the statewide average of 35. So that's really, really great. If we could say that our statewide average was over 40%, that would be awesome. And then mentoring, always something we stress the importance of our mentors, because we do really think it's the heart of the program. Every student who applies is assigned a volunteer mentor. Not every student takes advantage of their mentor, but those who do really see a lot of value in the mentor and working with that person throughout their college access process. So mentors serve as task managers, resources. So may not have all the answers to the questions, but help students find the right place to go to get them. And what I think is the most important is the encourager. So a lot of times our students do not have someone at home encouraging them to proceed with the post-secondary process. And if they hit a roadblock, they're often not encouraging them to continue on and get through the challenge to be able to start college in the fall after their high school career. So a 12-hour annual commitment, and we are, of course, already recruiting for the class of 2022. This will look a little bit different in 2022 than it did last year. So last year was all completely virtual based on what was going on with the pandemic. So we invested in a portal to help mentors and students communicate. Prior to that, we did the team meetings in person where students and mentors met at the high school and then at the college once they started school. So there have been different ways of mentoring, but this year we're sort of doing a hybrid of both. So if mentors want to mentor completely virtually, that is one option. But if they want to do some things in person, we will be offering open houses locally for mentors and students who want to meet up in person to help facilitate that relationship. And we will have post-secondary partners there to hopefully assist with the process of applying or registering or whatever is going on at that time. So mentoring in 2022 will be a little bit of a hybrid. New mentors will complete a 1 hour training, and then we'll have a 30-minute refresher course for any mentor who has previously mentored in the past. We need 36 in Overton County. So that is our goal for class of 2022. And what we are always asked when we do these presentations is what is something tangible that I can do moving forward. And the first is, of course, being a mentor or sharing that opportunity with your friends. The second is connecting us to people in the local community that would like to hear the story of tnAchieves or of the opportunity to mentor. So we're always willing to come to any community organization or business. So if you have or are part of anything that you think would like to hear the story, we're happy to come or share virtually. And then the third thing is telling a friend about Tennessee Promise. So of course, the application for Tennessee Promise class of 2022 is live. And if a student does not apply in their senior year of high school, they no longer have the opportunity to participate in Tennessee Promise. So it's super important that they take the 10 minutes that it takes to apply while they're in high school and do that now so that they don't miss out on the opportunity. And this is my contact information for any questions or things that you might have moving forward. That's my number and email. So you are welcome to reach out to me at any time. But I'm also happy to answer any questions you guys might have.
I don't think I have any questions.
Questions along the way. I always like to hear what you guys have to say. Gregory, do you have any questions?
No.
Okay. Well, thank you guys for joining this morning. It was nice to give you guys some more data. And again, we track pretty much everything. So if there's anything you want me to dig further into, I'm happy to do that. So just send me an email.
Thank you so much, Jackie.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank
You
you.
as well. Is
Hi.
there one
Oh,
question
sorry.
though?
Yeah.
I'm trying to recruit someone to be a mentor. Is there a
Yeah.
place where I could share this recording with her?
Yes. So at the end of the week, I guess tomorrow or maybe Monday, I'm not sure exactly when they're going to send it out, but they're going to send out an email with a link to the recording.
Awesome.
But also just to the PowerPoint that you can share with anyone.
Okay, awesome. Thank
Yeah.
you.
You're welcome.
Y'all have a good one.
Thanks, you
Thank you.
too.